Hey everybody, this is Chaos. This is Chaos Games, and today what I want to talk about is the new Skyrim DLC, Dragonborn. Now, I've had the opportunity to play through it quite thoroughly at this point. Still things I can do because there's straight up a lot of things to do in it. But I feel like I've gotten through a lot of it to where I can talk about it pretty well, give a pretty good depiction of what it's like. And I guess the first relevant question to ask is it worth the $20 price stamp that they put on it? And for me, the answer to that question is an undoubted yes. It really is quality content. Um, I know there was a question before by a lot of the fans, a lot of people who purchased Dawnguard, of whether Dawnguard was worth the $20 price stamp. I thought it was due to the amount of content that they had put into it. They added new transformations of Vampire Lord, and they enhanced the transformation for the werewolf to make the werewolf master. Um, Also, they added new areas on the fringes of the general Skyrim area, but a lot of complaints were that they had too much of the story take place within Skyrim. They said just tacked on a few caves here and there. But I feel like overall it was worth $20 price stamp because they added the Soul Cairn, they had the Volkihar Castle, and they had the Fort Dawnguard, of course, uh, and also the old ancient Falmer area connection. Now, so that to me made it worth the $20 price stamp. Now, with Dragonborn, to me, there's no question because they went above and beyond here. Uh, it is basically like an expansion. They didn't just tack on a few areas here and there like they did with Dawnguard. They give you the whole island of Solstein to explore and play around on, and it all takes place in that area. Now, Solstein itself is I will go off on rough projections, say it's about um, roughly 25-30% of the total size of Skyrim itself. That might be a little too generous. That might, and then again, that might be a little too unforgiving for it. I'm not really sure, but it's large. It's not a simple, take a few steps and you're across the island. It's fairly sizable. So the content itself is packed with a lot of things. And that brings along new side quests. And I'm talking main quests. I'm talking unnamed quests. There's a plethora of things to do in this new content. Now, all the Elder Scrolls 3 players out there are going to have a nostalgia attack because it really takes from the culture of Morrowind. Because Solstein geographically is just north of Morrowind, it's mainland, and so you have a lot of Dunmer culture there, just like you had in Morrowind. So what do we see? We see a lot of ash. You can see Red Mountain spewing ash up into the sky on the horizon, and it's blotting out the sun in some cases. You can see the province of Raven Rock, which is Dunmer, a Dunmer province. So it's subject to Dunmer architecture. So anything you saw in Morrowind is basically like an upgraded HD version of Morrowind in some areas, and it's very nice. They brought back bone mold armor, so if you were a fan of bone mold armor in Morrowind, you're in for a treat. They brought back more the Chitin style of armor, not like what you'll see in the game with the Falmer, but like they had a more beige bone Chitin style light armor. And they've introduced a new type of armor that's made from a kind of an enchanted ice. Um, it's called Stahlrinum or something like that, but it's very good. takes a special pickaxe to mine material for it, ancient Nord axe or pickaxe, and you can craft armor, both light and heavy, from it. So that's good content, good additional content there. Uh, they've added, like I said, the nostalgia. Where's nostalgia concerned, they brought back. Uh, they have a special star of the show with the one of those silt striders. They brought one of those back, so you start to hear that familiar howl of a silt strider that you heard so much in Morrowind. You're like, what's that? Is that a silt strider? It is. They brought back a silt strider. Yeah, granted, there's only unfortunately one. You can't ride it around like you could in Morrowind, but it's just cool little Easter egg, I'd say. Brought back some familiar villains or creatures from Morrowind. The Reeklings, little gremlin-like creatures with spears. They're back, and they're running around. They have an interesting little side story quest with them. And basically they add some new nuggets of some culture that I thought was pretty cool. They have a special group of Nords called the Skull, Skal, and the Skull is interesting to find out, because I'm a big fan of Elder Scrolls lore, is that they're more closely related to the original Niddic people of Atmora, which, if you don't know, is where the Nords originally came from, where they migrated south from the continent of Atmora and Skyrim, landed in some landed in Solstheim. Well, these Skull, they hold more traditionally to traditional Atmoran religious beliefs, whereas they are monotheistic. They believe in the All-Maker, not in the 9 divines of the Empire, which was adopted through elfish enslavement. So they're hold to the original customs. They're tribal in nature. They have a chieftain, a shaman, and you'll find that in the main story of Solstheim, that plays a huge role in what happens in the story. So that's pretty interesting. I was entertained by that. The Daedric Prince, Hermaeus Mori, this DLC is heavily revolves around him. Now, I'm not going to get too much what happens, because it might spoil the main storyline. But basically, from what you probably gathered from the trailer, the whole premise is first Dragonborn, Mirak, who ends up being Mirak, versus you, the Dragonborn of today, the last one. So, and Hermaeus Mori has an interesting role in the story. But basically, you get to visit his realm, his plane of oblivion. It's called Apocrypha. It's a very twisted, interesting place. It's endless library. Not like we would think, where there's not like bookshelves, but it's twisting landscapes and caustic environments. A special type of enemy called Seekers are there. You have pages of books swirling up around you. And this is very twisted place and very, very cool. Very good addition. A lot more interesting of a place to me than the Soul Cairn was. I mean, Soul Cairn was a pretty interesting place, but Apocrypha is a pretty cool looking place. Very twisted in an ordered way. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a treat. I think people will enjoy that. You get to see Hermaeus Mori tentacle rape a few people. It's pretty funny, or not so much. But so he plays a huge role, and I will say that the final boss battle of the main story is way more epic than the fight against Alduin. I mean, Alduin kind of was straightforward. You dragon rendered them, and you came to the ground. You beat on them a few times. This fight isn't as straightforward as that. Mirak makes you work for it. He makes you work for it. He doesn't go down so easy, and I think people will have a good time with that. Now, the thing is, I will say, is that if you go into this expecting to have the main story be an engaging experience. It is, oh, for the most part, an engaging experience, but fair warning, it is rather short. The main story, it took me only about 3 or 4 hours to get through it. I just kind of bullhead rushed through it. It's not that extensive at all. Actually, I will go out on a limb and say that Dawnguard's main campaign, was more extensive. But you will find as soon as you get to Soulstone, this DLC is about it, but it isn't, because the land is so large. Like I said, it's roughly 25 to 30% of the size of Skyrim. So it's more influenced by the new side quests they add. Like I said, there's a plethora of them. I've already found well over a dozen named side quests, not to mention the unnamed ones. So if you are deprived of things to do in Skyrim, no longer, because when you get this, there's a ton of things to do, and they'll re-immerse you in the world. So if you're on the fence about picking up Dragonborn, I would jump to the other side and I would get it, because it is quality content. The thing is, the thing I've been surprised about it is well put together. Not a lot of glitches. I ran into your standard Skyrim problems. It freezes. It's frozen about once or twice, but that's about it. One hilarious glitch though was I walked to a house in Raven Rock, and there was no floor. It was a blue screen. You had the doormat hanging in midair. You had some people sitting at the table enjoying a midnight meal or whatever. And I stepped off the floor mat and fell right through the graphics. But when I reloaded, it had fixed itself. But aside from that, so far, that's the only glitch I've run into. So I've heard people in the past say, "Oh, I feel sorry for those Xbox players because they have to go into play with the most glitchiest version of the game." It's really not the case. I'm sorry to tell you. I know as a PS3, I own multi-plats, and I understand that as a PS3 player, you like to say things make yourself feel better, but there's really not many glitches. Nothing, especially nothing game breaking. Nothing even remotely out of the ordinary with this. They really took some time to put together pretty well. Unlike some things in Dawnguard, I didn't even notice anything really significant. Where like in Dawnguard, when you first get it, what happens is if you hadn't purchased the alchemy lab in Breeze Home and Whiterun, you can't get it. So that was a glitch, kind of a sizable glitch, but not really. You can work around it. There's no even glitch, not even glitches I found in Dragonborn where you even need to work around them. It's pretty well put together. It's an overall good experience. A lot of nostalgia points to be had. A lot of new fun side quests. So I say that it's really great content. They didn't go do too much in the way of abilities like they did in Danganronpa, where they added the new forms you could take, where new werewolf abilities, new vampire significance. Here they do a few new things. They give you the ability to tame some dragons with a new shout and ride them, which is pretty cool, but it's not really what you think it is. It's not like, oh, I tamed the dragon, now I'm gonna ride it and control it. No, when you get on the dragon, it pretty much still controls itself. You can command it whether you want to attack something or not. You can command it and say, oh, well, press this button real quick, or press L3. That's what I call it, the left analog stick down. And he'll target a certain thing, a certain opponent or enemy that you had, target, and then he'll breath at it, But really, you're not going to be, it's not like Drakengard or Panzer Dragoon Order or anything like that, where you're like dog fighting and you're, controlling where the dragon's going and nose diving and crazy crap like that. Unfortunately, they didn't get that in depth with it, but it's still a cool premise. It's still pretty awesome. And they added a new type of scaleless dragon more of a serpentine dragon, I think they called it. So it's pretty cool. But you know, really not much in the way of new abilities though. They added some new shouts, of course. Obviously, they had a shout called Dragon Aspect that allows you to shout into existence a mystical armor around yourself once a day. It's pretty cool looking. It's pretty badass. I can't lie. And you know, it wears off fairly quick, and you can't use it the rest of the day. But it doesn't take off your compass counter, so you can use other shouts. And actually, in the third word of power, it increases the strength of your other shouts when you get the helmet of it. So you get the arms for strength, the body for armor or for defense boost, and you get the helm to increase the power of your shouts. So that's pretty cool. So, but overall, it's worth getting if you're on the fence. I'm hoping that people get to experience it soon on both platforms. PC, I heard they'll probably be getting it soon, probably early next year. PS3, obviously, that's always a toss-up. We don't know. I honestly haven't heard any valuable insight on whether Dawn Guard is going to come to PS3 since November 8th. And that was from a tweet. Apparently, I've heard rumors that they're just trying to rebuild the engine to work on the PS3 properly. But again, that's all hearsay and conjecture. No one's really said anything solid from what I found. And so PS3 is still up in the air. I'm pretty confident that PC will get it within shortly after the 30-day mark. But PS3, it's looking like they're going to do it. They confirm that they will. Dragonborn, at least. They confirm that they will. But we don't know when. And we don't know if when it comes, Dawn Guard will come with it. But if it does, for my fellow PS3 players out there, Dawn Guard, both DLC contents are worth picking up. They're good content, and hopefully they'll have all the bugs and things of that nature figured out by that time. But they are worth it. And I think, if you were a fan of it even on the PS3, you'll enjoy it. All this talk of them creating a discount, it's not going to happen. They're not going to discount it on the PS3. I'm sorry to tell you this, because I think in their minds, like, well, we took the time to port it over and make this happen, deal with it, which is fair. But at the same time, I feel how PS3 players would feel a little left out and like they're entitled to something on this, because before I picked it up on Xbox, I was in the same boat. But anyway, this has been Kaous Games. Until next time, gamers, game on. Have a good one.